Tonight we're going to check out an interesting Les Paul custom made out of Korina? Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Let's cut to the chase. What does it look like? A very, very interesting thing. But what if I told you I lied? It might be a Korina body and a Korina neck, but that is not a Korina top. This is an oak top Les Paul. Now, we've actually documented an oak top Paul before. Its oak was a little bit more oaky as far as having that really heavy wood grain to it. That thing was pretty sweet, and it was a true 1959 reissue. And in the past, we've also documented a custom shop 1998 Les Paul, which also has the Korina body, but with a really beautiful quilty maple top. But if you want a Korina on top, you gotta look to the 2008 50th anniversary series where there was this weird Les Paul with a forked headstock. Yeah, that one still retains the Korina-ness. We'll review one day. But you can also find Koa top versions of these occasionally. So if you were always sad that it was only the 50s Explorers and Flying Vs that got to have the fun, just remember, Gibson has made a lot of stuff in its lifetime. And today we're going to document this very unique beauty from the year 2003. First impressions, this is either ridiculously lightweight, which is some of the reason why guys love Korina, that or this might be a chambered Les Paul custom. We'll have to find out, because our serial number dates it to 2003, and what's important to know about that year is Les Paul customs were not fully made in the custom shop yet. So, if you have one that is custom shop made, it's usually special. The regular Les Paul custom model, as we think of it today, did not get moved into custom shop production until late 2003 into early 2004. That's when the custom shop moved houses, and they decided to move the custom to the custom shop. Makes sense. That's also when they went from the Gibson Custom Art historic branding to just straight up Gibson Custom. Prior to then, it was just special Les Paul customs as well as 68 and 57 reissues that were done up in that facility. So right here, we're looking at that really cool crazy quilt top 68 reissue we talked about a couple of weeks ago. My goodness, this thing is like way heavier than this. This feels almost like nothing, but they both have their own beautiful things going on here. But the reason I bring all that up is because I was trying to figure out what on earth actually is this. It's got the ABR1 bridge mounted historically. I'm betting we'll have the long neck tenon. However, since it's an inked CS serial number, that means it's not a 57 or 68 reissue. That's just been modified with their wood specs. Unfortunately, we've lost the original case and COA, but isn't that the way it always goes? Because you got to remember, when the customs go to the custom shop, that's also when we get rid of that giant large paper COA that people file away and lose and go to those nice little booklets as you're seeing here on the screen. The case this one has is a 90s era Gibson brown case. It's nice. It's got the pink case shroud. There's some case candy with this guitar, but that's not right. That's not right. This is maybe original to the case. This certainly doesn't belong to the guitar because it's Gibson USA rather than custom shop pre-pack checklist. I believe the custom shop ones were red. So some fun goodies in the case, but belongs to a different guitar. And it looks like our original cracked switch tip is in here as well if you'd like to glue it. But I'm really curious if this is going to turn out to be chambered or not. So let's go ahead and throw this thing over onto the workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs. Sure enough, I was right. This thing is chambered. That really makes the history of this one unique. So first, let's start with our pickups here. In the early 2000s, Gibson was all about 57 classics yet, and that's what that looks like to me in the neck position. The same is true in our bridge. I get readings of 7.67, neck position 7.72, and they play together nicely at 385. But sure enough, there we go, long neck tenon. So you can see Korina joining onto Korina, with that darker line there being where the oak starts. Our bridge pickup cavity is more of the same, and you can see its layers right here. As far as our bridge and tailpiece, as we were talking earlier, it's a true ABR1 post-mounted into the body, and the bridge itself is nice and gold, reads Gibson ABR1 on the back. The tailpiece is also gold, and is full weight, and has a casting mark across the entire back. I'm suspicious the knobs have been replaced on this. Is that really a big deal? No. I could see how somebody's like, oh, those ambered reissue style knobs might look better on this because they're honey colored, matches all the other goodness. But with everything else being black, including your output jack plate, I would have assumed it might have shipped with black speed knobs or a black bonnet knob. I thought this was cool. No pick guard from the factory, so you don't have to deal with any holes. But there's something interesting about figured oak. its flames don't ever appear to move as much as Maple's. Like, it'll have it, and there is a little bit of a chatoyance to it. But even my last really ringy one still had this figuring to it, but it just didn't move too much. So this is one of those ones that shows, but it doesn't necessarily move too much. So if you're a photographer, or you want to show off your friends and not worry about the angles, this is the exact kind of guitar you're after. But we've got our 7-ply binding along our top, but then I want to take a special look at the oak wood grain here. It's like you got little worms all over it. It's very long grain lines when you take a second to look really closely at it and don't take into account the figuring lines. I would say this piece of oak actually matches the Korina incredibly well, especially with their staining job. But here you can see your side profile shot with your nice streaky wood grain of Korina. But moving on from our body, we've got that Korina neck. This is a big chunky neck profile. And then we've got an ebony fretboard with true mother of pearl block inlays. With a guitar that feels so light and balanced and it's got such a big neck profile, and I'm betting it's going to be great to play. I can see why this one certainly has some fret wear, at least within your first 12 frets or so. I don't think that they're at the point where they're really going to affect the playability of the instrument. That's something to keep in mind. We've got a 24 3/4 inch scale length with a 12-inch fretboard radius. The net measures 1.7 inches, 2.07 by the 12. I told you it was big. 0.95 first fret neck depth, 1.01 at the 10th. There's a look at that neck profile at the first fret and the 12th fret, just super rounded. I would personally classify this the same neck as what you would find on a 57 reissue of this time period. And had they just left the whole thing made out of Korina, I think they still could have called it a 57. They just swapped out mahogany for African limba. But due to the weird specs of chambering with the oak top, Korina, I think that's why they just decided to brand this one a custom shop Les Paul custom. But you can see your Korina wood grain here through our truss rod route. And our rod itself, always got to check it. Just because they look good doesn't mean they are. Yep, that moves perfectly. In fact, it was almost too loose. I think it was completely loosened like it hadn't been used, but it is starting to engage now. I can feel it. Because that's the thing, just because a rod moves nicely, there still needs to be some resistance, right? You got to make sure it actually does what it's supposed to be doing. That's easier said than done on camera. But check this out. We even have the wide beveled edge Les Paul custom truss rod cover. I don't believe 68's got that. So that's another reason why I'm leaning more towards 57. And we've got some nice Grover tuner machines. We also have the super ambered over lacquer. Now, granted, this thing's like, what, 22 some years old. Some of that just might be natural. However, this definitely looks like something that started life a little bit ambered to begin with. There is one spot right here by the binding. It's not that uncommon to see finish checks like that on Korina. I know it looks quite vicious in photos, but in person you really don't even notice it, especially not while you play. It's not like brittle and chipping like sometimes it can be. And this era is well known for fret nib gaps, etc. And this one, I always hate to say there's none because you can still catch it, but as far as these go, that is a very mild case, hardly even worth mentioning. But now we can move on to the backside, where we get all the fun Korina goodness. I can also see somebody enjoyed having a belt buckle and or some buttons on their shirt. They certainly left some impressions on the back, but all things considered, it's not in the worst shape in the world. I can totally see somebody taking this and gigging it way more. Because if you heard, oh, it's chambered, no longer interested, trust me. Custom shop chambering is way different than Gibson USA chambering. USA's chambers do not connect, whereas custom shops do. So this is just like a Les Paul Elegant, where this is all routed out, and then you just have a little bump like the 335s have, and like a center portion here that gets slightly routed out for all the other stuff. But it's a continuous chamber. And because you're watching my show, I've got the endoscope to show that. So there's that little bump we were talking about for our strap button to get sank into. And here's our little center spot where your pickups go in. So let's continue our journey up here to see what we might find in our cutaway. Nope, we need to turn back. There's nothing good down there. So that means this is our bridge pickup cavity route. But I'm curious. Can we take a spelunking adventure in here? Find our neck pickup. Oh, getting claustrophobic now. Here we go. Yay, we found it. Can we keep going? Yay, there's our toggle switch. That's a lot of fun. I'm glad I bought this. So that all gets connected there. But then we can go in around here and say hello to our toggle switch again after we turn this corner and take a peek right down that corridor. So yeah, we can see the entire guitar. I think my favorite spot on this is they have to route away just a little bit of the back of the wood to put these pots in, and then that exposes your oak top back here just a little bit. And you can also see the Gibson branding on your pots quite clearly here. Custom shop chambering, always lots of fun. But we just have our regular ceramic disc capacitors, no bumblebees or anything like that. And lots of scratching on your back plates. And you've got some additional fun in your thin binding in the cutaway. The darker spot right here is your oak, and then you got some more of that beautiful Korina wood grain along the edges. Same is true over here. It's like the sands of time. This is a gorgeous piece. This is your playing profile of it. Looks just like a flame maple top, but with like maybe a little bit of heartwood mixed in with it. And then all the great Korina goodness, including your neck. And we have 5-ply binding back here. Here's the neck itself. More nice straight grained goodness with our Gibson custom shop decal and the backside of our Grover tuners. It's got a couple of dings on the edges as well. And the way you read the serial number is you find out how many digits you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that tells you you're within the 2000s. So your first one tells you your year, 2003. I was curious how oak and Korina would blacklight. Here's your answer. Pretty much the same. You can see a little bit of sweat absorption here, but the top is nice and even, so no touch-ups there. The knobs do glow, but usually this reissue style does. Face of the headstock looks pretty good. And in a general inspection, I don't see any crazy funky business on this one. It looks straight. Our neck's in great shape too. Don't even see any stand rashes. But now the weight, I'm curious. I want to weigh this together. If I had to guess, it's probably mid to high 7s. Yep, 7 pounds, 14.8. That is really nice for a Les Paul. Like, not too light, but just perfect. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how it sounds. It's a really bright guitar, especially that middle position. I think it's mainly from that bridge pickup. Because the neck is still nice and full. But here's the good thing about a bright guitar. You can always tame it with your tone controls, but you can't really help a muddy guitar that much. Let's see what kind of range we got. In my opinion, for a more mellow tone, somewhere around that 5-ish setting. Because it goes downhill really quick after 4. Like half the knob hardly even does anything, but that's just how they were in that era. such a driving middle position. Usually I don't like the middle on distorted. Got a feeling this would be a surprisingly good doom chuggy chuggy guitar if you put heavy gauge strings on it. So what's an oak top Les Paul Custom with a Korina body and neck sound like, equipped with 57 classics? Surprisingly bright. However, if you drop tune or detune in the slightest, you are gonna love this thing. Big chunky neck profile. Just get some heavy gauge strings on here and have it set up for that, and I think you're gonna have a great time. Because when I was trying to play regular Les Paul stuff, it's like, okay, I really want to gravitate towards my tone controls because this is just so bright, but it can be tamed in a good way. But that brightness becomes very helpful once you start adding a whole bunch of sludgy stuff, so you don't lose all the notes when you're playing stuff like that. If you're interested in being the next owner of this guitar, I'm not selling it. It was actually one of my dealer friends who sent this and said, hey, how about you make a video on this? It's kind of a cool guitar. And I agree. I totally missed in his listing that this thing was chambered. I thought that was a brand new discovery, but I'm so glad I ended up reviewing it because I had not done a chambered version one before. I think it's a really cool guitar. Hope you guys enjoyed learning about it. And we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.